All right, happy Monday, Elements family. This is Coach Justin here, coming in with your basics gi passing class today. So today, last week we were talking about bottom geese, bottom guard. Today we'll be talking about being on top in the guard and kind of like what you should be thinking, a way to break out, and also how to pass. So because we don't want to stay there in the guard. Okay, so just get this adjusted here, and there's one and two. Okay. All right. So I made a little bit of a modification to Bob here because Bob can't keep his feet together for any of our moves. So I actually, if you get one of these, this is what I did. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I bungee corded around one ankle, and then I actually did it around the foot. And there's a reason why I did it around the foot, so it's easier to break open the guard. It's probably not going to work necessarily just to push back on it, but because his legs are really long. But I'll just presume that they came apart and kind of reach back and undo it. So, the guard position. All right, here we are. So, when your opponent has you in their guard, controlling with the hips is always good when you have your feet together, especially if you can keep them together. If your opponent sits back like this, doing sort of a reverse sit-up, a leg crunch, kind of pulls the person forward like this. And so because of that, we want to create base places to push off of our opponent with, okay? So a lot of times what will happen is the first thing that will happen when we end up in the guard is we're actually going to end up really close. So a lot of times we'll end up here like this, okay? So if we're here, right, first thing, again, your basics, guys, you want to remember is that you need to make a good base, okay? So the wider you can get your hips open, the better base you have. If you try to hang out up here with your knees together like this, it's going to be real easy for them to rock you one way, and then you'll post like this, or maybe fall over, okay? So if you open up as well, they're also not sitting on your thighs. You're actually creating empty space that they put themselves in, your opponent puts themselves in, so you can't sit up. So there are instances when you want to do this, but not until you've broken open the foot, and we'll go over that probably tomorrow. So, but today we're going to do some what I like to be is fluid in today's stuff. So the first thing I want to teach you is a way to break the guard. Now, again, last week we talked about how your opponent is going to be trying to grab your lapel and pull you down, or trying to grab a wrist or whatever. So what we're going to do today is we're going to sort of mitigate that by controlling their biceps and or their armpits. Okay, so this works for this particular situation, works for gi and no gi. Okay, and so what we're going to do is when we're in close, so our opponents, we're down in close, we need to control our opponent's arms, right? Even if my hands are on his chest like this isn't good, because this can potentially lead to arm bars if I leave them there too long. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to control the biceps like this. So that's either palms, so the palm just goes straight on the bicep like this and kind of pushes and kind of hooks around. We're not trying to like thumb inside, because with thumb inside I have to flare my arm, but I have better tighter control. I get my elbow in tighter. If I keep my thumb out. If I put my thumb in to get it to the right angle, I have to turn my elbow out, and then I can't really drive this arm in. So it works best if we just use the palm on the bicep and push the bicep down kind of at an angle. So we're going to hold the biceps here. All right, and then we're going to push up until we get to this position. This is a good control position, all right? The other thing you can do, which a little less control, but a little more stability, is to go hands down into the armpit. All right. Now, reason why this works real well is because you're not trying to go into the armpit. You're actually trying to go into the arm. So it's almost like you're trying to push on the bicep, except for you're over like this. So you still get that good control. You still get to bring the elbows in, and you can sort of push in like this. All right. Now, once you get here, you need to make an adjustment with your lower half. All right. You need to move one of your knees inside. So I usually move my right knee. I'm gonna see if I can't show you guys my left one. So I'm here, and I'm going to bring this leg out, and I'm going to put it right here. Okay? So I'm going to put it right here. Sort of over my body. All right. So when I'm here, however I'm going to do this, then I'm going to start to put pressure on the hips. Because if I put pressure on the hips and then sit up like this, right, what your opponent wants to do when you sit up is they want to follow you. Okay, they want to come up with you so that they go up here like this. Their hips will come up, and they'll come up and they'll follow you. I don't want them to follow me. So once my hands go here, it goes hip, hip, and then boom. And in the gi, you can even go inside the belt like this, right? But if you don't have a belt, I would just turn my fingers out and put pressure on the hips like this. Okay, now once I'm here, what I'm going to do is this back leg, and I'll switch the knees so you can see what I'm doing with the back leg. So this knees come through, I'm pushing down, and this back leg, what it's going to do is it's going to come out here like this, and then I'm going to sort of rotate and push at the same time. So I'm going to rotate and push, and then ideally their legs would come apart. Sometimes they won't. So you might need to give it a little extra elbow. But when they do, so just pretend these feet came apart. I guess it's a little tighter than I want it. Come on. Try to be innovative, and then it makes it harder. Okay, so boom, the feet pop apart, right? And then what you want to do is this knee is going to come up here. Okay, this knee's going to come up here, and ideally, this is where I have a little bit of trouble with this move. Ideally, this hand is still on the hip here. Okay, there's a reason for that. Because if I don't keep pressure on this hip right here, most guys will turn this knee up, right? Even if I put an arm here to try to block, if I go high, they go low, it's a reaction kind of thing. The reaction's usually too late. So if I can keep this pressure on this hip right here, that'll keep them from coming up. So one more time, just to go through the process again. And if you're curious what I did here to hold the feet together, I stretched this around twice around this ankle. So I went 1, 2. Just to get rid of some slack. And this is just a small bungee cord. So I stretched that twice around this ankle. And then, when I ran around this, I actually went around the foot, try to make it easier to get out of. Give a little more slack. It's probably better. Okay. So, one more time. So I'm here, and I'm here. So I'm going to, if my hands fit better, pushing on the bicep, or if my hands fit better, armpit. This is how you get away. Boom, boom. All right. Now, and again, this position right here, or this position right here, also keeps your opponent from grabbing your lapel, which is really important when you're in the gi, because if they grab your lapel, then you got another thing you got to worry about. But if I start down low and keep them away from my lapel, and then use my hands to come inside like this, then if I want to, I can switch to this. And then remember, this knee comes in. I'm going to switch to the hip, They're going to be up here like this. And I'm going to push down on the hip and sort of rotate. So I'm actually turning my body. I'm not necessarily trying to touch this. I'm not trying to stay straight and reach back. I'm actually going to push and rotate. And see what's going to happen is my body is going to, because they're usually up here, as my body twists, I'm actually putting more pressure on the back there, and that usually is what causes the feet to break open. Okay? So, again, when you've done that, this knee pops through. Okay? Just like this. You don't want it to necessarily land on top of them, but if you can get it up, that's going to be the best. And there's a trick here that works real well for people with good flexible toes. All right, when you're in the guard position, if you can stay on your toes like this and sit back, you have a really good foot flexibility for a quick moves. Okay, this works real well in these scenarios, and a lot of times you'll use these in positions where the where you're on your knees and you need to get to your feet real quick. Okay, so if you can sit back and be on your toes at the same time, you'll have a real good base. And if you can also turn your foot to where the insole is on the floor in some of these situations. I have trouble with this as well because I don't have very good flexible ankles. But what I mean is like you can get your foot to sort of push off the inside of the toe like this when you're in these situations. So my ankle needs to be a little closer to the floor. Maybe you can get your foot kind of like this. See how I'm like on my toe, pressing on my toe. Hopefully you can see that. Pressing on my toe and pushing off. This is a real strong move for people who have good flexible ankles and knees. I will say most of the time that means you're potentially easier to get injured, but for jiu-jitsu it's really good to have because it increases your speed, and sometimes in the scramble especially it's important. So sorry, let's walk it back one more time. Ooh, look at that, they caught on each other. Okay. So again, I'm in the guard. I want to break open the guard. That's the very first thing. This is one type of guard break. All right. There are plenty of other types of guard breaks. This one is the one that I do and have the most success with. But as a big guy, it's kind of easy because keeping legs wrapped around me is kind of hard. So I'm in close. Can't get the lapel, so I slide my hands down on the inside and control the biceps. The outside knee, this right side, my right, goes in between the legs, and then this leg comes out. So I'm here, and it comes out. And then I'm gonna bring one hand up to the waist, and bring the other hand up to the waist. I'm gonna push. And I'm going to turn, and as I turn, that's when your opponent's opening should happen. Try to keep my pressure on the waist here with this hand. And this knee comes through. So they're not locked together anymore. Let's unlock that. Now here, this is where the actual pass happens. So I have two options. I can either cross side, or I can do same side. All right, so we're going to start with the cross side because that's the most common way to pass. So in a cross side pass, your knee is going to come inside the leg like this, and as it comes inside, there are two options depending on how this came about, and so the less handily option is going to require you to dive as you pass because you're trying to get an underhook underneath this arm. So I'm coming here and I'm also trying to stay low on this side. So I'm like sliding through, right? And I'm also trying to stay low so I keep my opponent from getting this underhook. Because if they get that underhook when I pass, they just come out the back and take my back. And I can't let them do that. So I'm slid, excuse me, this foot here is pinning that leg. This leg comes out, right? Then I'm going to grab this arm here, pull it up, come through, readjust, into side control. Okay? So, one more time. So I got the cross knee. I'm going to go cross knee. This hand is controlling this hip. If I can get, put the pressure down on there. Again, I have a little bit of trouble getting that distance, but that's the best way to do it. So this hand here stays on the hip to keep them from turning up into you as you start to slide. And as you slide, that hip, you're sliding down. So this hand over here stays connected, and you're trying to keep this connected as well, because they're going to try to get an underhook when you're sliding through. So you come here, you're going to reach way back like this so you can get that underhook. Keep that foot until you get this leg out. Then you're going to grab behind here, pull it up, and come here. All right. Now, here's the variation of that. It comes off of grabbing the sleeve, this sleeve, right? So if I grab this sleeve, I don't need to hold this hip as much because I can pull on that sleeve to keep them from rolling over. See, think about it like this. If my opponent was like this, see how his shoulder goes to the mat, right? If I have control of that sleeve, though, like this, and I pull on it, see how his body rotates? Which means he can't twist his hips as well if his body rotates. If his body's rotated this way. So if in a similar situation, instead of posturing up this way, my opponent decides he decides he's going to grab my sleeve, then when I break this off, I'm going to hang on to it, right? And then I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to turn, pop that knee through. Now this time, when I go, I'm actually going to keep my head down on that side, and I'm still going to go for this underhook, but I'm going to be pulling on this sleeve. It's going to be much harder for him to get that underhook if I'm pulling up on this sleeve. And that's part of the reason why we want to come down with it too. So I'm actually going to be here, right? And then I'm going to come down, and I'm going to be pulling up on the sleeve like this as I come through, and then do the same thing. So I'm already pulling up on the sleeve. I can come through, I can come up, and I can finish, or come to side control this way. Okay? Again, the sleeve is a slightly different setup. The sleeve grab is a slightly different setup, and there is actually another way in that respect with the gi that you can break the guard. So let me show you how to do that with the gi. All right. So you are in the guard. Just get this reattached real quick. Boom. Too difficult. All right. So when I'm here and down low, before I try to make it up here, I'm going to slide up and try to grab this sleeve, and I'm going to take this sleeve in a regular sleeve grip. So again, for those of you who don't know a regular sleeve grip, the thumb goes inside, curls, the fingers come in, curl, and you want to create sort of a pocket for your fingers to curl into, like this. And then this thumb, you make a fist. So the thumb goes from the outside to the inside and makes a fist. So now that I'm here, I'm going to take this hand and I'm going to stuff it down here like this. All right, the hand will actually be over here. Again, like I said, Bob's arms aren't very long. So the hand will actually be out of the sleeve over on this side. And you're gonna also a lot of, like, I learned this as well when I was first starting jiu-jitsu. you're going to take your hand and go and put your index finger like this in between both lapels. All right, and it comes down, and then you're going to pin them together, like pinch them together so that both lapels sort of meet. And then you're going to grab them like a fist as well. And that's going to be your one of your positions. Because from here, all right, so I got the sleeve, okay, and I got the lapel. It's going to come just like this. All right, so it's going to be, the sleeve goes underneath, so the hand's there, the wrist is here, this hand comes here, and it comes down across the wrist. Okay, so again, this is wrist, this is hand, goes down across the wrist. Okay, and you're going to use that to create your base to push off of. So again, you're going to push here, you're going to come back, and instead of going down to the hips, you're actually sort of still pushing, and you're going to keep a hold of both of these. You're going to push away like that, and that's going to create your extension that you need to break their guard. All right. There is another option where you stand up on this, but I'm not going to show a standing one today. I'm just going to show a kneeling one. And I probably should have saved that for tomorrow, but we'll probably go over it again tomorrow because guard breaks are really important, whether it be in the gi or not. So once I'm here and here, and I've broken this guard open, and my knee comes through, right? I'm still trying to use this as a way to keep my opponent from turning into me. Okay? So I'm still trying to create pressure on this side, and I can do that one of two ways. I can either push or I can pull. So the handle here really makes it easy to pull. Okay? And so this is going to come here again, right? And then I'm going to come down low as I'm pulling this up, come through, and that last part is really important. So I've got the sleeve here. When I step over, my chest pushes the arm towards their chest. So I'm here, and I come through, boom. All right. Now, whatever way you break the guard is fine. It's really irrelevant to the game as a whole. But everybody has a different way of doing it, and you should know at least 2 guard breaks to be effective. And the pressure one is the one I go to all the time. Okay. Now let's talk about the same side. Okay. So sometimes we've telegraphed the cross side a whole bunch of times. We've maybe even they've seen it a bunch of times, and so you want to do same side. All right. So that means so when this knee pops through, instead of going this way, which is the opposite, right? Because this would be the same leg. I'm going to go the same side. So I'm going to go here. So part of the reason why this can be better is because most people, because you can't turn this foot inside, right? So if he tries to go this way, it doesn't really stop me, see? Because I can just keep pushing across this leg right here. Versus the other way, the knee gets in the way and I can't make the same motion, all right? So cross side, or same side, is your other option in this scenario. So we're here, and I go same side. Now, one thing I want to be careful of is not getting this through before I get my back leg out, because if I don't, I'm going to end up in half guard. Right? This leg is in between both legs, and right now the only thing that's stopping it is just me, this leg right here. All right? So in this scenario, I'm going to do something similar, except instead of trying to go for an underhook, I'm actually going to try to go for a head over. Okay, so So I'm here like this, and as I start to go from my same side, I'm going to reach across, and I'm actually going to grab the back of the lapel like this, or just the head like that. And then what I'm going to do is this leg is going to fly out like this. Okay, so it went from here to here. Okay, then we're going to use this foot to scoop that leg away like that, so we can go down, go belly down, and come into side control, and then regain our side control. Because if you don't do it that way, your opponent can turn into you and maybe grab that foot back before you have a chance. So you really need to get that foot out of the way. Okay. So one more time, we've broken the guard. The leg pumps up. I'm here and I'm here. So I'm actually going to use this hand here to hold this down as I come across and reach around, grab that lapel behind the head, kick this leg out, and this is how I like to do it. So notice, so this will be kind of weird. Try to get my arm out of the way. This leg actually comes right behind this foot here. And when it comes behind this foot, it meets up with the hip. So the next thing I can do is pull that leg out and come down into my side control like this. Okay? Now, I'll show that one more time, and then we'll show you one of the ways that a higher level belt might deal with the same side pass, because it doesn't necessarily seem obvious. All right, so one more time. So my leg's up. This hand here pushes. This one passes across. When it does, this hand grabs this, the lapel. This leg comes back through to push. I widen my attack, trying to keep this pinned until I'm ready. And this hand comes over and starts whatever. Okay. Now, most of the time, you don't see a same side knee pass. And there's a reason for this. Okay? The reason is that if your opponent pins your leg with the same side, you don't have to just sit there and wait. You can actually kick your leg out and grab their leg. In fact, most likely, they're already sort of grabbing, and all you got to is to slow you down, and then they just got to kick their leg out to grab it, and then you're in half guard. Okay? So let's see if Bob can be nice, and let me show you that from this position. Okay. So we're going to do the same side on this right side, right? So he's got this leg in between. He's pinned this leg down with this leg. Come on, Bob, work with me here. Hips open. Hips open. Over my leg. There we go. Much better. All right. So Bob's looking to pass on the side you guys are on right now. So he's pinned this down. So this foot right here is going to be over this foot. And this is the reason why Bob's going to reach back, try to push this leg off, right? As this leg stays pinned. But if I'm smart and he's here like this and he's trying to pass, I'm going to frame, first of all, keeping this foot captured as much as I can. And then I'm actually just going to kick my foot straight out. So I know that seems like that's really easy, but so originally Bob's leg is up here and he's pinning my leg down. So let me see if I can. There we go. So I'm holding this foot, and if he tries to pass on the same side, I hold this leg and I kick straight down to get his foot out from behind, or get his leg off of me while I'm still framing. And then I'm in half guard, so I can switch to half guard. if I want to. Or notice if I'm framing here, this is a Kimura position. All right, so a Kimura, for those of you who don't know, is a rotational shoulder lock that works off of your position. So in the transition from guard to pass, and your opponent does the same side, now I've been able to switch it to a half guard, and from half guard I've framed, and it's real easy for me to shoot up and over, and now I turn back, and there's my Kimura. Okay, I keep that here, push that down, I rotate my Kimura. All right, if I rotate my body, usually most people rotate their body. You can pin this leg down well with your leg. So if you just push down into the floor with your hip like this and rotate your body, your arms, this will probably be easiest. Most people, though, will try to like tripod up and then you got to roll over and it's a thing. It's fine. But right here, if you're here, boom, there's your Kimura. All right. So one more time. If your opponent goes for a same side knee pass, grab that. There we go. And then rotate this. Come on. Rotate. Problem with working with a dummy. You're an idiot, right? But all right. So we're here. He's pinned my leg. He's trying to get his leg up. I'm framing to slow him down. So I kick this leg down to get out from underneath it. I switch. Boom, I'm here. I roll up and I sit up like so. There's my Kimura. And I roll back to finish. Keeping this tight. Trying to drill that into the ground. Even trying to like, what I would do is really try to like drive my hips this way as I twist my body. So it's kind of counterintuitive because you usually want your whole body to go the same way, but I'm actually rotating my hips towards the camera and my body away from the camera. Right? That keeps them in place. And it may or may not work at that moment, but you're already there. So your opponent probably will roll over to his back, and when he does, then we can finish it the traditional way. Now there's another way that you can make this defend against this. All right, so the defense here is just like the defense in the guard. Okay, so as I come up and I go to get this in, my opponent is going to put this hand inside the thigh like this. Okay, now that the hand's in the thigh and it's straightened out, it's going to be real hard to get back to bendy and whatnot. And when you go for your Kimura, you can't overexert this arm up before you go for it. So when you're going to set it up, there is a second there where your opponent, right here, where your opponent can go right in between your hand and his leg and grab the inside of his thigh. Right? But if you make it seem like maybe you're trying to sweep him. So if I go here and I try to drive with my hip and he drives back, just like I was doing a hip bump sweep, I'm not really trying to sweep him, but they're less likely to put their hand inside so that when you go for the Kimura, you can do it all at the same time, right? So if I'm here and I get to here, he's thinking, oh, he's going to Kimura me. But if I'm here and I go here, oh, he's trying to sweep me. So I'm going to push back. Real easy to roll back before you grab that arm. They didn't really feel it coming. Okay? So again, I've framed, I've grabbed that leg. I'm here. Okay? So now that I'm here, I'm going to, and got that frame, I'm going to sit up like I'm going to try to sweep you. And when they stop you by pushing back in, I'm going to roll back over and take that Kimura. Okay? Because the great thing is that if they try to tuck that hand, they can't, it's very hard for them to to stop the roll and think about tucking at the same time, right? So like if I'm here, I've created my frame, and I start to sit up, and I start to go for that roll, right? Their hand's usually going to try to post, and their leg's going to post. And when their leg posts, that's when I know I have them focusing too much on this, and then I grab, and I've got this, and I immediately start to push up with my hand as I roll back. Versus if I had framed and I go like this, well, I've telegraphed that Kimura like crazy. So now I've already got it locked in, but that says, hey, I'm going to Kimura you. So they go hand inside, right? But if I go like this, oh no, now I'm real far past where I wanted to go, and I got that Kimura. Okay? So you just got to be careful when you're the guy on top here for that Kimura, because it's there, especially if the frame is across the shoulder face area like this. It's real easy to slip this past and go over the arm. If they tuck the arm, or the arm ends up here, that's a different story. So guy on the bottom, when we get to half guard, which will be next week, part of your framing is framing the wrist and the bicep area like this and trying to keep them from getting past. Because if they get their arm past, they're going to put their hand on your face like this, and they're going to flatten you out. So keeping that here, that's where I want that. I'm going to shoot up, try to fake it, boom, come back, and go for the finish from there. Okay? So just remember that. If you're this guy, remember that. Remember, try to get this hand out as much as you can. Try to pull it back, try to pull it away, whatever. Get it low so the person can't grab the wrist, or if they can grab the wrist, it's hard, and you'll know that it's there. And the fact is if I'm going like this and you frame inside, like, hey, I know that Kimura is right there, and I try to go, you should be able to post this arm up, or this foot up, and this hand will still be inside. And then if I try to go for the Kimura, you're defended. So you're fine there. Okay? So just a reminder how we got back there before I get out of here. We did a cross knee pass. Or sorry, same side knee pass. All right, when I went for that same side knee pass, instead of being a lame guard player, hip rotated here. Instead of being a lame guard player, come on, yeah, there we go. This back foot is gonna hold on to that leg as much as it can, right? Once that broke open, this should have been a thing. Now, when he starts to try to pass, I'm gonna frame, and this leg is gonna kick straight down, unlocking that foot there. And once it's there, I'm gonna switch to the guard. If I can get this knee inside, then we're good there too. If he's playing tight here, that's okay. I'm gonna go for our sit-up Kimura, or if you watched my lockdown series a couple weeks ago, we're here like this. I can actually switch this to even if it's not a full lockdown position, I can still get here like this and sweep this in for an underhook, and then adjust as I need to get that foot inside, still framing on this wrist or this arm until I get my head low enough, and then I can come down and I can do all my fun lockdown stuff. So if you like that, that's another direction you can go instead of trying to attack. If you're a top player and likes to finish from the top and just like to sweep, that's usually what I do. I'm not really a finisher from the bottom. So, all right. Well, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Hope you got some good stuff out of this. Tomorrow we'll be visiting those guard breaks, and then we'll be talking about some passes, some over-under passes, and smash pass. Those are the two Over under and double unders. Those are the two we're going to go for tomorrow. Okay? All right. See you guys later.